At the Christmas party, my parents smiled and said, "We all agreed not to do gifts this year." And for a second, I believed them. My name is Adil Khan. And that night didn't just ruin a holiday. It exposed something I had been ignoring for years. The house looked perfect. Lights wrapped around the windows. A tall Christmas tree glowing in the corner. Soft music playing in the background. Everything felt warm, festive, normal. But families don't fall apart in chaos. They fall apart in moments that look exactly like this. I arrived a little late. Work had kept me busy. As usual. When I walked in, my mother greeted me with a quick smile. "You're finally here," she said. Not excited. Not upset. Just neutral. My father nodded from across the room. My younger sister, Sarah, barely looked up from her phone. Nothing new. I placed the small bag I was carrying near the table. Carefully. Quietly. Because even though they said no gifts, I still brought something. Not expensive. Not dramatic. Just thoughtful. Because that's how I was raised. Or at least, that's what I believed. Dinner started normally. Laughter. Small talk. Stories. My father talking about work. My sister occasionally interrupting with something about her life. My mother keeping everything flowing. And me. Listening. Observing. Like always. Then came the moment. The one that changed everything. After dinner, my mother clapped her hands lightly. "Okay," she said with a smile. "Since we all agreed, no gifts this year, let's just enjoy dessert." Everyone nodded. Casually. Naturally. Like it had been decided together. I paused for a second, because I didn't remember agreeing. But I didn't question it. Not yet. "Yeah, makes things simple," my father added. Simple. That word again. Used to avoid effort. Avoid thought. Avoid balance. I nodded slowly. "Of course," I said. Because arguing over something small never felt worth it. But then, Sarah stood up. Smiling. Excited. And walked toward the tree. "That reminds me," she said. "My packages came earlier." Packages. Plural. My father smiled immediately. My mother laughed softly. "Oh, go ahead," she said. I frowned slightly. Because something didn't add up. Sarah reached under the tree. And started pulling out boxes. Wrapped. Decorated. Clearly planned. Not random. Not last minute. Intentional. My father stood up to help her. My mother joined in. And just like that, the room shifted. From no gifts to something else entirely. I sat there. Still. Watching. Trying to understand. Because this wasn't confusion anymore. It was contradiction. "Wait," I said quietly. No one stopped. No one looked. "Didn't we just say no gifts?" I asked. My mother glanced at me briefly. "Oh, that was just to keep things simple," she said. Simple. Again. My father added. "These are just small things." Small? There were at least 10 boxes. Different sizes. Different wrapping. Nothing about it looked small. Sarah laughed. "They're mostly for me anyway," she said casually. Of course they were. I looked at the bag I had brought. Still sitting near the table. Unopened. Unnoticed. And suddenly, everything became clear. This wasn't about no gifts. It was about no gifts for me. "Where's yours?" Sarah asked suddenly, looking at me. Her tone wasn't curious. It was amused. "I didn't bring anything," I replied calmly. A lie, but an intentional one. Because now, I understood the rules. "Oh," she said with a smirk. "Guess you finally listened." My father chuckled lightly. "Good," he said. "About time." My mother didn't say anything. She just kept unwrapping boxes with Sarah. I leaned back slightly. Silent. Processing. Because this wasn't new behavior. It was just the first time. It was this obvious. This clear. This undeniable. For years, I had been showing up. Giving. Contributing. Thinking it mattered. Thinking it was seen. But in moments like this, you realize something simple. Value isn't decided by what you give. It's decided by how people treat you. And tonight, that answer was obvious. I stood up slowly. No anger. No scene. Just clarity. Where are you going? My mother asked. Just stepping out for a minute, I said. My father didn't react. My sister didn't care. Because to them, nothing important had changed. But for me, everything had. As I walked toward the door, I glanced back once, at the lights, the laughter, the gifts being opened, and the space where I had been sitting, empty, unnoticed, unimportant. That's when I made a decision, not emotional, not impulsive, just clear. If they had already decided my place in this family, then I would stop trying to change it, and start changing where I place myself. Because sometimes, the loudest message isn't what people say. It's what they quietly exclude you from. And that night, they didn't just skip a gift. They revealed the truth. I didn't go back inside. Not that night. Not after that moment. Because once you see something clearly, you can't pretend you didn't. I sat in my car for a few minutes. Engine off. Lights from the house still glowing in the distance. Laughter faintly reaching me through the walls. Like I was close, but no longer part of it. And for the first time, I didn't feel angry. I felt done. The next morning, I didn't message anyone. No Merry Christmas. No follow-up. No explanation. Silence. Not to punish them, but to protect myself. Because continuing like nothing happened would mean accepting it. And I didn't. Days passed. Then weeks. And something strange happened. Nothing. No calls. No questions. No "Are you okay?" Because when someone gets used to your presence, they don't notice when it disappears. At least not immediately. So I redirected. My time. My energy. My attention. Everything I had been giving to them, I gave to myself. To my work. To things that actually grew when I invested in them. And slowly, results started showing. Not publicly. Not loudly, but clearly. More projects, better clients, real progress, the kind that doesn't need approval, because it speaks for itself. Then one evening, my phone buzzed. A message from my father. Short, unusual. Where have you been? I looked at the screen for a second, because that question came too late. Not wrong, just delayed. Busy, I replied. A minute later. Another message. You didn't come back that night. I almost smiled. He noticed. Eventually. No reason to, I typed. This time, there was a pause. Longer. Then, what does that mean? I leaned back in my chair. Because now, we were finally at the real conversation. It means, I wrote slowly. I understand how things work now. No reply. The next day, my sister called. That never happened. Not without a reason. I answered. Hey, she said casually. You've been quiet. I didn't respond. She continued. Mom said you've been working on something. There it was. Interest. Not in me. In what I was doing. Yes, I said. What? She asked. Same question. Different tone. This time. Curious. Not mocking. Something that's growing, I replied. A pause. Then, oh, she said. And for the first time, she didn't laugh. That's when I realized something important. They hadn't changed. Their behavior hadn't improved. Their mindset hadn't shifted. The only thing that changed was my value in their eyes. And not because I explained it, but because I stopped giving it away for free. A few days later, another message, this time from my mother. Come for dinner this weekend. Simple. Normal. Like nothing had happened. Like that night didn't exist. Like I hadn't walked out quietly and stayed gone. I looked at the message for a long time. Because now, the decision wasn't emotional. It was strategic. Go back and return to the same pattern. Or stay where I was and keep moving forward. I put my phone down. Didn't reply. Because this time, I wasn't reacting. I was choosing. And slowly, very slowly, they were starting to feel something unfamiliar. Distance. The same distance I had felt for years. Sitting right across from them. I didn't reply to my mother's message. Not that day. Not the next. Because for the first time, I wasn't responding out of habit. I was deciding. A week later, my father called. Not a message. A call. I answered. Are you coming or not? He asked. Straight to the point. No warmth. No apology. I paused. Then said. No. Silence. Not long. But heavy. Why? He asked. I leaned back. Calm. Because this wasn't about anger anymore. It wouldn't change anything, I said. Another pause. Then. What do you mean? He pressed. I exhaled slowly. Because I finally understand my place, I replied. And I've accepted it. That landed. Not loudly, but clearly. That's not what we meant, he said. Maybe. Maybe not. But intention doesn't erase impact. I know, I said. But it's what you showed. Silence again. This time. Longer. Real. A few days later, I saw pictures online. Another family dinner. Same table. Same setup. Except, there was an empty chair. Mine. And for the first time, it was noticeable. My sister messaged that night. Short. Different. It feels weird without you. I looked at the screen. Then replied. It always was. No explanation. No argument. Just truth. I didn't go back. Not immediately. Not automatically. Because this time, if I returned, it would be on different terms. Not as someone trying to belong, but as someone who chooses where he does. Because that Christmas, they didn't just skip a gift. They showed me something far more valuable. Clarity. Glowing star moral of the story. Don't stay where you're only included when it's convenient. When people show you your value, believe them, and decide if that's where you want to remain.